Roll off time, woman.
Roll off. I got a 6.
I only got a 3.
We'll do the intro. Welcome to the Tip of the Spear podcast. And this week we are doing the Sons of Behemat Wallsmasher Stomp. Pretty fun spearhead normally.
I think a really fun spearhead.
It depends. It depends on how many 4+s you could roll.
That's a good point. And you don't roll as many as me, so yeah, you probably are a bit more reserved in this than I am.
I collect them in the main game, but the main reason I collect them in the main game is I only have to paint 4 models.
Well, this year only have to paint 3, so even better.
I brought them already made and painted, so I didn't even have to do that.
But before we do talk about those big giants, how was your AOS week been?
I made my Blood Terror for the Skaven. That's about it. Push fit. Didn't enjoy that.
When have you enjoyed making models?
I'm also halfway through doing the Heathenites of Slanesh spearhead. And spoilers now, they are probably not getting a high score on the how easy it was to make and paint.
They look nice though, so we might help them a little bit.
Maybe.
Depends how fun they are for me to paint them, I guess. I, again, haven't played any sort of external games, but I've been painting a lot of spearheads. So we've got Quest coming up this week at Warhammer World. So I've been putting the finishing touches to the Nighthaunt second spearhead, and we've just had our first game for the channel with them, you using your Slaves to Darkness for the first ever time, which are very Slaves to Darkness at the moment because they're all just painted black.
There's videos and various things on the channel, but we had a play with the new Nurgle spearhead as well, which was interesting.
It puts my theory that they can't, if they give you one good spearhead, the next one's got to be not so great.
And it supports my theory that they just had a lot of this stuff sat around and they needed to shift it somehow. So they put it in a spearhead box and then included Warcry because that's just how it works.
Bit disappointed, especially when they could have had all their nice new models in the spearhead, which would have been good. But the plus side is it meant that I had pretty much all the models. I was only 3 Nurglings missing. So we managed to get our game up and out. So if you want to check out to see how bad it really is, then you can watch our battle report on that. But today we're not here to talk about those disease-ridden ones. We're talking about the huge, smashy, sometimes...
Oh, they're not really the huge giants. They're like the big for spearhead. But yeah, getting into it, you essentially have, well, technically you have 2 units, but really you only have 1. All you have is your Man-Crusher Gargants. You have 1 as a general, and then you have 2 as not your generals. That's the whole army.
So probably a quick tip with this army, when you're painting them, make sure one of them looks a bit different.
Yeah. Just
so you can easily identify which one, and your opponent can. You don't, wouldn't be nice if they go, oh, I killed that one. You're like, great, I brought it back. And you're like, I thought that was your general one. Kind of make sure that your opponent knows which is which. Because they do literally all look like big giants, just carrying slightly different things.
There's only really two differences in the models. The general is enhancement. The non-general ones are reinforced.
And the general has the battle trait as well. But there's the army stats. I mean, this is going to be a very quick podcast because we're not going to much to go.
Good thing we rambled a little bit beforehand.
Because the army stats are literally on one page and it's all the same. And apart from those extra abilities, they all do exactly the same thing.
So let's get into your battle traits then. So what have you got? You've got 2 battle traits. You've got probably the most important one, really, which is kind of what makes the army a bit more viable. They're Bellowing Roar.
Robin, I thought you were going to say the extra rock throws, because I always seem to hit with those, so they seem pretty valuable.
No, you've got the Bellowing Roar. Pick a friendly unit to use this ability. Pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. Roll a dice on a 2+. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for attacks made by that target unit this phase. So importantly with that one, it's a debuff on the enemy. So I know you don't have a lot of other stuff in the army anyway, so it's not like... But potentially, it's just a debuff to that unit, -1 to hits. So even if they don't hit the giant that used the ability, and they hit another one, it's still a minus, which is just pretty good, especially with it being on a 2-up.
I honestly think that has saved me so many times against an units come in and gone, ooh, they could do a bit of damage here, and just making them hit on worse is so good. And the fact it's a 2-up.
Yep.
I can't think of many abilities like that are so reliable. You kind of count on it getting off. So your other ability, the one I was saying I quite like, is the grab those rocks and chuck 'em. It's a hero phase. Pick your general to use this ability, and then pick another friendly unit wholly within 12 of them. Add 1 to the attack characteristic of the units throwing rocks this turn. That's kind of a bit weird because they hit on 5s. So you could give it to a unit and probably not get any benefit from it at all. But it's just a nice bit of extra thing.
It's also very strangely worded in the fact of your general doesn't get the boost, it's just the other unit. I can see how people potentially read that and go, oh great, my general gets an extra rock and the unit he picks. No, your general picks another unit to get the benefit. 12 inches isn't crazy. It's wholly within, though. They are big bases.
They are big bases, and you've only got the 3 models.
Yeah.
It can be hard to keep them close if your cards just dictate where you go. But you'd like to think you'll get it first turn.
We sort of mentioned, well, we may have mentioned this before. We think that the Sand and Bone board was a big upgrade for the Giants. They think they perform much better in that one. Just because there's less sort of objectives that require you to be in 2 separate places. Take the flanks is terrible for them.
Yep.
It means they've got to essentially split their whole army to do it. You kind of want to couple your Giants up a little bit. It's not always possible in Fire and Jade because you've just got to be in different places a lot of the time. The objectives are a little bit more spread out at times as well as a standard. So that you're just spreading them a bit more thin, which is what they struggle with.
And you've got the ability to drink from the draft, make them hit on 3s instead of 4s. You've got the card for fighting twice. You've got the card for adding to the attack characteristic. You've got the card to bring one of them back with 4 health. So that could be a general that you bring back with that.
Teleporting a unit. You're likely to get stuck in combats with them. Yeah, the cards and everything like that. It was a buff for some armies, but I think the Giants benefited from them massively.
Yeah. I'm going to put that to the only reason that I lost in my semi-final game against them when it should have been Fire and Jade and no one communicated very well. We had the Sand and Bone sticking around and ended up getting trounced by them with my Nurgle. Definitely not me or the Set Factor and Sand and Bone.
I mean, I still beat them.
You were on Fire and Jade?
We were on Fire and Jade.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of my vanquishers though.
Ooh, that's painful.
Yeah.
So going on to their regiment abilities. So you've got the Foe Chomper. Each time an enemy model is slain by a friendly unit, stuff them in the bag ability, heal D3 that unit. So the ability that Robin just said that they can do when they can basically roll a dice, if it's double their health characteristic, you get to just kill a model outright. If you do that, you also get to heal a unit D3. Very good ability against certain armies, you know.
Yeah.
You're against an army that's not got many models or models with good saves and things, maybe don't. But you're against anything with probably 10 models in the unit, I think a really good choice.
The first time I played against Giants, I made that mistake. I kept my clan rats in combat with it, and he just kept healing up and healing up and healing up.
It was probably a funny one when you kept bringing back your clan rats and then going, great, I'm going to eat more.
Yeah, that was a really, really rough one. All 3 Giants can do that. That's potentially 3 sets of D3 healing in a turn. It's pretty good. Their other regiment ability, the Earth-Shaking Charge. Pick a friendly unit that has charged this phase to use this ability, then roll a dice for each enemy unit in combat with it. On a 3+, that enemy unit has strike last this turn. So you charge into a big block of people, potentially roll a couple 3+, you get some strike lasts. It sounds good. My only issue with that is it's once per phase, so you're only doing it once. You might not really get any benefit from it.
So if you charge only 1 giant in, I suppose you can go to another combat first, but yeah, you're not getting any benefit in that combat because it's your turn, you've charged it.
Yeah.
I suppose you could do that with the counter charge.
Yeah.
So I suppose you're getting benefit with that, but yeah. And then it's on a 3-up, you could get the charge and miss it. And then also, these are the type of army that can get stuck in combats.
Yes.
So now you're not getting any benefit from that at all because you're not charging.
On any other army, it'd be pretty good, to be fair. That you've got a lot of stuff that you can charge in.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. Sometimes Giants, you can have your cards work really nice for you and you just go, everything charges in and I just smash stuff. Great. Sometimes you get your cards and you go, well, that Giant's got to sort of go over there and do something and that one's got to sort of go over there and do something. I'm only getting 1 or 2, maybe 2 in combat anyway.
What's strike last going to do? I've already attacked.
Yeah.
It's not a clear, I always pick that one. I think I do, which is what I think regiment abilities are for. You pick them once you know your opponents.
Yes.
And it's not I always pick this one because it's the best one. It's against this army, this is probably the better choice. And against this army, it is. So I would always kind of look at it and go, am I definitely going to stuff them in the bag? Because if every model in the unit has got like 3 or more health, I'm not good. I'm going to be crazy good to roll that. I'm not going to do a lot of healing. Am I going to be charging a lot? You know, if I'm going to go first and charge in, so at least guarantee that first turn, maybe. That's what I'll go for.
Yeah.
All 3 giants charging into one thing, getting all 3 to attack in a row because they're strike last are their important thing that they need alive. Really good.
Brilliant.
But that's the one time you don't roll the 3 up.
Yeah, probably. I mean, again, you could potentially give... I do think the Foe Tromper is probably slightly better.
Most armies have a unit of 10 or 5. Because I did this really well against Seraphon and I kept on eating Saurus Warriors, which are horrible units to shift.
Yeah.
So the fact I was eating them, A, was a massive bonus, and B, just kept on healing me up. Yeah. So I do think that that is a very good choice on most armies. Just the occasional army, maybe not.
Yeah.
On to your enhancements for your army. You've got the Monstrously Tough. Your general has health characteristic of 15 instead of 12.
I mean, what more do you need to say? He gets 3 extra health.
Yeah.
It's a nice ability.
Really nice ability. Your general is the thing you need to keep alive because he's the only thing not reinforced.
Yeah.
If it was get the whole army of your health up by 3, I mean, obviously that would still be better, but I do think that your general's the one who needed it.
Yeah. Typically, if you face giants, you go, which giant dies turn 1? The one that doesn't come back. It doesn't always work that way, obviously. It's got a lot of health. And a good player is going to set the general a little bit further back. But ideally, that's what you're going to try and go for. So giving him more health, brilliant. So then you've got the extra big bag. When your general uses the stuff him in the bag ability, you can pick 2 enemy units instead of 1. Roll for each.
I like that ability. My only issue with that one is it's very situational. General's got to be in combat with 2 units, both that he is able to roll above their health characteristic. I don't think that happens very often against most armies.
Probably isn't actually necessarily worth it if you don't pick the Foe Chompers.
No.
Because then that's 2d3 of healing, which is obviously brilliant. That's potentially half of his health back every combat phase.
Which is really good as long as you've got enough targets and you can manipulate it. So, because if I'm playing Clan Rats, I'm not sending both the units of Clan Rats together in a group.
You're more than likely using 1 to bog down one and 1 to bog down another, and then you're focusing fire on the other one. So, can be a very strong ability, a little fiddly to get the full benefit of it. You're probably definitely not doing it all 4 rounds. You may be doing it once or twice in a game. Who knows? I mean, some armies it might be really good. Against Fire Slayers, that would be a really good one, because you're doing it on everything in the army.
Nighthaunt as well, pretty good. They've got a lot of 1 health, 2 health models.
Yeah, some armies you're going to have a lot of benefit from. If it's a full army of stuff that you can stuff in the bag reliably, that's probably a pretty good one to pick.
You've got your Lanky Git. When you make a charge roll for your general, roll 3d6 instead of 2d6.
Pretty easy, pretty useful. Means you can get those crazy rolls.
Means you can leave him back. Because what I tend to find is I don't want my general being charged straight away because I don't want them to target my general. So I have them with the other 2 further forward. But then if they look and go, okay, fine, I'm going to give you the turn, it means he can probably still get up the board and got a better chance of making that charge.
It also means you can't fail a 3-inch charge, which most players probably don't go, well, that's not a big thing that happens anyway. For someone who likes me that fails a lot of 3-inch charges, it's always nice just to have a guarantee. It kind of makes like anything sort of under 5 inches is almost kind of a guarantee, which with his decent movement is fairly achievable. It's just guaranteeing your general gets in. Because the last thing a giant player wants is just to go, right, I've moved everything sort of forward, I've failed all my charges. Oh no, the other army now can just do what they want. And you don't have a lot of presence, they can either choose to ignore you, and just take all the other objectives, or they can go, right, well, this giant dies then, so everything just kind of focuses that one guy. It kind of gives you that at the very least you're getting something in, you're disrupting them.
And it's a passive, just happens. Yep. You don't roll for it, nothing, you just 3 dice every time you charge.
Works on a counter charge as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Shuts down some abilities that are like, take 1 dice away from their rolls. You know, you're still getting 2 dice on the ability. I think that's quite nice as well. Against Night Haunt, where you have to roll a 7 to get in, you've got such a more high chance of actually making that 7-inch charge.
Potentially, if they've set up in front of an objective, if you get a decent 17, 16-inch charge, you could swing round the back and be on that objective. And spoilers, that probably means you're taking that objective, because that's another one of Giants' really good things that they've got 10 control score. And their last one, voraciously territorial. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by your general that target an enemy unit that is contesting an objective you do not control. So I think this one is a little bit of a trap.
Ooh, interesting.
Because it is a good ability. Obviously, a big thing about Giants is their 4s and 2s. Making them 3s and 2s makes them a bit more consistent, which is nice. But how many fights do you have with a Giant that on an objective that doesn't then end with you owning that objective?
Yeah, so I can see what you mean. You could end up charging them in, have a combat, you got it for that first turn or whatever, great. And then you're now controlling that objective. They then charge into you. You're fighting on the objective that you control, so you're not getting the buff of it. I think maybe that kind of dictates how you play, is you play that you smash through everything you're with.
Yeah.
So that you're out of that combat. You're not bogged down in it. You've taken that objective and you're moving on to the next one. Because exactly what you just said, you could easily get stuck either not on an objective or on one you control.
I think maybe if you're going second, you set your general a little further back, hope that you don't get you too locked up and he gets stuck behind. And then you can maybe have another Giant take the objective, and then your general go round, and then hopefully kill him out of combat a little bit so he's freed up. I think on that one there, that's probably the hardest one to continuously get benefits from.
I would say the extra big bag is probably the hardest one, because you have to be in combat with 2 units that you can do that for.
Yeah, I suppose.
That one can be tricky. But I could foresee you picking that and maybe getting the bonus once a game. Maybe that's one that your enemy's got a debuff on hits. You kind of have to choose.
Yeah, maybe.
Is all I'm thinking. Because hitting on 5s is rough with this army.
I suppose this could just play it in the fact of just go, well, I'll just never go on that objective and I'll just stay until I've killed you. Then once I've killed you, I can hope to catch up on points.
But again, like we said, one of their biggest strengths is to 10 control, so you end up kind of taking away one of your own strengths. I think this is an interesting one. Normally when we then number them and you kind of where you'd put them, I'm always like, this is clearly your top. This is clearly worse, and then the middle is so-so. I feel like this one is a bit closer in each of them.
Yeah, there's always an argument for picking one over another against facing certain armies. But I think this one has a bigger one. I think this one is more, what am I facing?
Yeah, and that's why I quite like the regiment enhancements there as well, because they're the same. You look at what you're fighting and you choose the one according to that. Same here. You look at what you're fighting and you go, or who's starting maybe as well, and you kind of that decides which one you're going to go for. They've only got 1 unit with 10 models in. There's 1 health. I'm probably not going for the extra big bag. I'm going first. Maybe I want that 3-inch charge.
I'm facing a Night Haunt. I'm probably not going to be charging much this game, so there's no point picking the charge. I'm going to want the extra health. I would maybe put, just based on kind of what we're saying, I would maybe still put the health as being the best one. Because at the end of the day, that's always going to be good.
I have more often chosen that than any other. Just because I do know that number of times that I've models died through the wound, and I've been like, if I had 12 health, if it had 15, it would still be alive, and a live Giant with 2 health left, still incredibly good.
Especially if you pair it with the Votromper and you're getting the healing. That just gives more potential for healing. Then I'd maybe put the charge one next, because again, it's a passive, it just happens. You can get unfortunate that turn 1 someone just charges you and you get locked in combat and you did not get a benefit. But especially if you're going first, you're always going to at the very least get 1 benefit from it. You might be able to get something at the back they're trying to protect. It is a bit of a shame that they lose the battle trait that they have in the main game, that anything under 4 inches they can charge over.
I don't necessarily think the spearhead needs help, but that would make it even better.
Yeah, that would maybe I'd swap them around then if you could just essentially charge across the battlefield over top of stuff. Maybe I'd draw between the other two because they're a little situational. The extra big bag could be really good against certain armies, and then the plus is nice, but a little finicky at times as well.
I'm not as down on that one for the +1 to hits as you are. If I had to put them in an order, it would be extra big bag last, +1 to hits in third place, the 3 dice on a charge second, and then extra health first. But they're not a clear for me like they are on most of these ones.
I would go with that, but then I'd think obviously the extra big bag.
So, I mean, it is really good. You'd have to roll crazy, but models that have got 3 health, like a Blight King, when they get stuffed in the bag, I'm like, oh, this is really painful, because that is a tough model you should have had to work through. You've just killed. So the fact you're doing it on 2 units of it. But am I as annoyed as if you do it on a unit of them and a unit of Plague Bearers? Probably not.
I sort of see that as with an army, you kind of go, try and get him with a cavalry unit that's got 3. Because that's my like crazy big.
Yeah.
But I've picked foe chompers and I'm in with the skeleton that's got 1. That's what I'm getting my D3 healing from. That's kind of where I was coming from. It means you can take a risk with that ability.
Yes.
To kill the big thing and it not be a waste.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I agree with you. It is, again, it's a bit situational. There's some armies that you literally can't use it on.
Yeah. Another Suns mirror match. Going on to your Man Crusher Gargants, your 3-in-1 War Scroll.
Yep.
All of your army moves 8, has 12 health unless you've done the enhancement to give it the extra 3 for your general, has a 5 up save and a 10 control score. So pretty mobile. Save's not great. 12 health is good, but it can go.
If you take the first turn and go, 1 giant goes in and charges a full army, if everything gets it, 'cause again, they're big bases, it's hard to pick and choose if your opponent's set up well, which we're assuming they are. You're probably going to tag a fair few things.
Which might be by design, which might be not, but don't be surprised if it doesn't just die.
Yeah.
Which just has happened to me multiple times now. I would say, obviously, the best thing about that is the 10 control score. It's not like taking damage goes down to 5. It is 10. You got a giant with 1 health, it's still 10 control score.
Yep.
That is so hard to beat.
I mean, obviously, it can be debuffed.
Yes, and that's where the Sand and Bone can affect it. The twist where you can turn a unit's control score down to 1 is nasty for them because you do really rely on that.
Yeah.
But in general, you're probably controlling whatever you're sat on.
And like you say, you've only got to get 1 model on. It's so easy to just... If you've got a big unit of 10 that's got a big buff and whatever, you go, yeah, great, get all 10 on. Not always the easy thing to do.
And get all 10 on, then I'm not going to kill just 1, you know, and take it. I mean, and you can, sometimes I've sat with 2 touching 1 and the person's been like, oh, my card is take that 1, but you've got 20 control scores. It is just pointless.
Yeah.
Moving on to its stats, so it does have a range attack, throwing rocks, which is range 12, 1 attack, 5s to hit, 2s to wound, 2 rend, D3 damage. I don't know why, but I seem to have a knack of getting that one through.
Yeah, you do.
And with the 2 rend and D3 damage, you're always going to do something. Maybe think about, you assume it's not going to hit. Bonus when it does, but also maybe think about that charge. Don't accidentally kill the front 3 models and then make that charge. Instead of being a 3, make it a 5. Could come back and hurt you.
It's kind of the thing where turn 1, you'll probably get all your rocks in. Then after that, as it's not shooting combat, you might be lucky to get 1 or 2. So it's chip damage kind of thing.
But bonus chip damage you're never going to rely on. But if it does something, it's excellent.
Yeah.
And it's got enough rend, it's probably getting through. Its melee attack, so it's got 3. It's got its massive club, 4 attacks, 4s to hit, 2s to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage. It's got its earbutt, 1 attack, 4s to hit, 2s to wound, 2 rend, 4 damage. And its mighty kick, 1 attack, 4s to hit, 2s to wound, I'm getting bored of saying that, 2 rend, D3 damage.
So potentially a lot of damage coming out of 1 giant. 4s and 2s.
Yeah, that's your thing, is always look at your 4s and go, no, I do unfortunately always think you could do a combat, you do nothing. And it's not...
Happens all the time.
Not crazy unusual. You could do a combat and get practically all of them through. And again, it could just happen. And that's where any kind of buff to make it 3s really helps. Any kind of a thing that changes it to a 5s really hampers you.
Yeah. Luckily, the monsters, or unluckily, depending on how you look at it, I suppose. So a lot of abilities target infantry and things like that, so they can avoid some of them, but not everything. And then, unfortunately, you've got armies that are like Cruel Boy's bow, great against monsters. You've got Yanastra's spear can become 2d6 damage or something. So they can sometimes get really hindered by being monsters.
But in general, it's probably better.
I think it's, yes. I think there's because there's not a lot of monsters in the game, there's not a lot of abilities geared towards handling them. There's more geared towards handling infantry and cavalry and potentially heroes. So you can avoid certain stuff with them, luckily.
An ability that we have spoken about a lot, but I'll just read it out anyway, is Stuff Them in the Bag. Pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a dice. If the roll is at least double the target's health characteristic, one model in that unit is slain, and that is any combat phase.
So yeah, potentially very good.
Yeah, especially if you're in combat with a 1 health unit, you're probably going to get it off. If it is something that's more health, it's a bonus when you kill it, and that's, a chunky thing that you've taken down. Nice ability. All your giants will get to do it, which is quite nice as well. And then you have the one that I forget a lot, but shouldn't do. It's because you're too busy taking the model off, but it is Timber. It's probably one of the funnest abilities, I would say, in the game, because it's just so different. If this model is slain, so this is any of your giants, before removing it from the battlefield, the players must roll off. The winner picks a point on the battlefield up to 3 inches from this model, inflict D3 mortal damage onto each enemy unit within 2 inches of that point. This model is then removed from the battlefield.
It sort of reminds me of before it was Age of Sigmar and it was just Warhammer Fantasy, and you had to have like all the little plastic discs and things like that. I don't know what it is, because there's other similar abilities, but just for whatever reason, this rule just really reminds me of playing back then.
Yeah, really fun ability. One that you can accidentally do a lot of damage to your opponent or yourself. I mean, luckily you've only got potentially 2 models it's going to do any damage to. They could have quite a few it does too.
I mean, to have had D3 mortals on 2 of your units after you've just lost one is kind of a big hit. If they can potentially do it that way. That's not fun.
The funniest thing about this is the next week's podcast, we're kind of doing a damage one to find out which armies can do the most damage. And Sons of Behemoth are actually quite low.
Yeah.
Because there's only 3 models. Even if they're doing max damage, it's not as much as other units, because they've just got lots of units in their army. Rolling dice and on a perfect roll, they could do a lot more. That one ability helps them, in theory, be a lot better.
They get 5 D3s, technically.
7. Some armies have got 7 units. So if that dies...
Oh, have you done it like that?
I've done the maximum.
The maximum.
So the reason why they get pushed up by that is entirely because if all 3 of the giants die on a turn, somehow all 7's the most in any army. So 7 of the units there and all take D3 mortal damage. It suddenly shot them up from being really low.
So that's 63 damage from death.
From death. Obviously... that one we're having a bit of fun because that's the maximum you could do in a turn. So you'd have to also do the maximum with all your attacks as well.
Yeah.
So it's probably not possible, but...
And also die.
And
have something left there to actually do that too.
And the hypothetical. So it is one that can do a bit. Again, don't rely on it because you could lose the roll off and they go, oh, the point over there, and it doesn't get anything.
It's a weird one as well because it's also... You don't win it on a tie. You just keep rolling.
You feel like you should.
You feel like you should.
You feel like you should. Because your giants died, he's managed to aim where he died, maybe.
And that's the army.
I mean, I would say there's only one thing that we've not mentioned, which is probably the most important thing about the whole army, which makes it good, is the fact that they're reinforced.
Yeah, the two non-hero ones are reinforced.
Your general isn't, but the 2 other ones can come back. They come back full health. They can come back 3 inches away from an enemy model because it's a reinforcement. So it's your territory, wholly within 6 of an inch out of combat. They could have worked for ages killing that giant, and you go, whoop, he's back.
Yep. Pop it on objective. Pop it not too far away. You can pop it in, and it just smash a unit. Might also do nothing.
Yeah.
But then it's probably also taken the objective from it because
Yeah.
it's taking control.
I honestly think if it didn't have that, this would be a terrible spearhead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that one thing means that it is so good. You do have to plan what you're doing with them.
Yeah, because obviously a good player against you is going to kind of want to juggle damage. You don't want to kill one a turn.
Yep.
You want to kill 2 a turn. You want to kind of build up the damage evenly, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. Again, it's a dice rolling game. You can potentially go, I'll put the clan rats into 1 and they'll do nothing, and then all of a sudden they do 7 damage. I'm not saying I've ever done it myself, but it could happen.
There are worse things than clan rats actually doing 7 damage.
Well,
A good player will play against you to not quite kill them or kill them in the same turn, and they'll go for your general and they'll try and kill that general. That is where I feel like Sand and Bone helps them so much, because of the fact you have an opportunity, if you draw it at the right time, to bring your general back. Even on 4 health, that is still really good.
And that's Giants.
Painting, assembly, aesthetics. Again, well, like you said before, we bought them already made.
So I have also made a few Giants, and there's a few people I've spoke to. Apparently the Giants as a sculpt are not necessarily the hardest to put together, because they're not fiddly per se.
Do they just not quite fit?
But they just don't quite fit. They're older sculpts. So if you're someone who likes perfection and doesn't like sculpt lines, so the obvious areas where the models are connected, apparently that's not always the easiest thing to hide. But you know what you're doing, you could probably put all 3 of them together in less than an hour.
How many spearheads can you say that for?
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got 3 models, they all look really cool. You can give them their own kind of distinct look, or you can just paint them up fairly similar.
We've seen some people do some pretty good things and pretty interesting things. I think with Giants is they lend to a very creative person to take it that extra step.
Yeah, you got to go out your way to change it. What you get doesn't do that, but what you can do with them does.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you got 2 of them came painted. I painted the other one. I really enjoyed painting it, whether it was just the fact it was just one model and nothing was too fiddly, or they're big models, so everything's big.
Yeah,
it's not like I'm to really go, that bit's in the way of that and everything. So I really enjoyed painting them.
They also tick the box of, like, if you're not someone who's super into painting, probably also could just paint them really quickly and make them look half decent. Paint all the skin one colour, put a shade on top. That's like 50% of your model done.
Probably more, yeah. And then just do the fabric, do the weapons, and that's the model done. So very easy to get straight up on the board and playing.
So, I know you can't get a 5, because at the end of the day, you've just got 3 models. And as well as you paint all 3 of them, it then also kind of means that they don't have a standout model, because they're all the same.
Yes.
If they were put in any other spearhead, they become the big, wow, standout model. But because there's just 3 of them stood next to each other, it'd be nice if maybe the general got some extra stuff. But that's just not how the box works, unfortunately.
And they look good when they're next to another army, when you see how small their models are and they're towering over. But like you say, next to them, you don't really get kind of the perspective in the same way. 3.5 then? Or 3?
Call it 3. Slightly above average.
Because it's an army, it's kind of getting the boost of the fact that it's 3 models. You can have it on the table really quick. They're quick to build compared to other armies. They're quick to paint, and you can be playing really quick. And if you want to go that extra detail, you can do. So yeah, 3 sounds.
You could also maybe argue that the cheapest army, you could fully paint all 3 of them with 5 paints.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
If you want to really do it on a budget.
I mean, Nighthaunt, I think, are pretty similar. You could easily do a Nighthaunt in 3 colours and then be fine.
They do look impressive.
Yeah. Moving on to the playing competitive fun. I do think you've got to have a certain mindset.
Yes.
Because I have played games of these where I've ran them in and they've done absolutely nothing, and I've been like, oh my word, what is this? And if you expected, which I think I did when I played it, I expected them to do damage and they did nothing. But you are going to have games that happens. You're also going to have games when you absolutely stomp the other person, you do crazy amounts of damage, and you trounce them. Don't know how to say about the competitiveness of them. I think they are.
I think my problem with competitive for them is, to be a good competitive army, you need to be consistent.
And they are not.
And they are unfortunately not consistent. They're very simple. They don't have a massive amount of tricks. They kind of do one thing.
The funny thing is, I think the thing they do the best is the control score.
Yeah, obviously, there's very little you can do to stop that. 10's a very hard hurdle to get over. But you put the 10 stabbers, or you put the 10 clan rats, or you put the 10 skeletons, and then you pair them up with the cavalry unit. Again, that might be awkward to fit it all on the objective. Who knows if you actually can. But then you've got 15, you've beat it.
And if they're deciding to attack your skeletons, great, because you're not attacking my actual unit's got to do damage. If you attack the unit's got to do damage, your skeletons are going to hold that objective for you.
At the end of the day, when we played our league tournament and I won, it was all 3 giants just fighting in the central objective. But I literally had all 10 of my vanquishers on that objective with Knight Velexor stood just out of combat range, giving that boost. And despite the fact I was fighting 2 giants at once, I was still maintaining control of that objective for the majority of the game. That's like ideal scenario. But they can be fun to play, that's the thing.
I think they're really fun to play.
But they can also be really sucky to play.
That's why you've got to have the right mindset going in. You've got to have the mindset that these could just do nothing this game, or they can do everything, or somewhere in the middle. But I've had more fun games with them than I've not.
I might put them at a 2.
I think that there's a lot of armies that I'd probably put around there of the newer armies that I would prefer playing these 2. Just because of that reinforcement. I just love the fact that they've done all that effort, they've killed your giant, and you're like, here he goes, he's back again. And like I say, I've had a lot of really fun games with them. So competitiveness, that automatically drops it, just because, like you said, you just can't rely on them. You could win a tournament with them, you could also lose to every army with them.
At the end of the day, you roll hot with them, you're probably beating every army pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
But if you roll middling with them, I mean, you think if you roll average 4s, you get 2 of your clubs through, and either 1 of your headbutt or 1 of your kicks. It's maybe 8 damage a turn.
Yeah. And only one of them's only 1 rend. If you come up with a good save, they could save that quite comfortably. And they've not got any ward. They have got that fact that mortals will do a lot of damage to them. 5-up save, even anything that's kind of got no rend but lots of dice can do some damage to them. So you can definitely get bogged down and die and just have non-fun games. But just the fact that reinforced just means that it doesn't matter, he's coming back, it's fine. What did you say?
I said 2.
See, I was going 3.
Do you want to go 2.5?
So I think we might have to go for a 2.5.
Yeah, I'll go with 2.5. I think maybe, like you say, I think maybe the fun element of them kind of bumps them up a little bit.
The competitive pushes them down, the fun pushes them up, and the playability, because they have not got too much to do. So if you're a new player, you're not going to forget a lot. But if you're a player who wants a little bit more complexity, it's maybe not quite there.
And sometimes it can be a little bit boring if you're playing a complex army and you go, right, this is what I did on my turn, and it took me like 2 minutes.
And they're
and then they go, right, well, I've got to roll this and that and this. And then you go, right, well, there's my saves. Yep. And then they go, and it's like...
Kharadron Overlords are like, this one has this weapon, and this one has this weapon, and I do this at this stage. And you're like, yep, I sit here and wait for you to finish all that so I can smash you.
I've got a big stick, and I hit you with the big stick, and I maybe hit you.
And I maybe don't.
And I maybe
die and crush you.
Yep.
So that is our Sons of Behemat review. We only actually have one of the original Destruction ones to go, which is the Ogre War Tribes.
Yeah.
I need a really big way of finishing the podcast.
Is that the joke? Big giants. When I played the giants in the main game, I used to call them big steppers and underground swimmers, because that song that was on TikTok for a bit.
Don't know TikTok, Roman. You're more down with the kids than I am.
And obviously the Kraken Eater is like it emerges from the sea, so it was an underground swimmer. Yeah. I am 100% down with the kids.
You clearly are, Roman. If you enjoyed the podcast, find us on YouTube, where we've got lots of battle reports and how to play videos. Do subscribe, like, comment. Let us know which spearhead you want next. We've done a few ones that people have asked for. Yeah. We will have one coming up next time we do a Death Army of the Soulblight Gravelords. And we've also had one asking for Daughters of Cain, so that will be pretty soon. Next week we are doing a talk about maximum damage, so that should be a really fun one. I know how to finish it, Robin. Can't wait for that next giant spearhead where they have
Big Rod.
Can't wait for that. I mean, or just one giant. That's all you're waiting for. It's just
maybe the war stomper. The war stomper would be good, because that's good again.